Welcome to our Google Hangout for our presentations on the Google Apps for Education Certified Trainer Preparation course. This is the first course of a cluster of 3 courses designed to give teachers the ability to become a Google Certified Trainer. We're going to go through some presentations tonight with our students. We have 4 students here that are going to present. Al Pisano, my fellow instructor, is going to introduce them to you.
All right, great. So yeah, we're real proud that you guys made it through the first course, and you know, future forward, we're going to get to our end goal of becoming a Google certified trainer. So our first presenter is Heidi. Heidi, are you ready to go?
I guess so.
All right, so you're up.
Okay. Hi, I'm Heide DeMorris, and I am a world language teacher in the North Salem School District. I teach Spanish. I'm also certified in French. What I found through the years is just trying to find resources that I could use, and since I've been introduced with Google, I'm just really integrating that into my own classroom. But I have found that a lot of the other teachers just don't know a lot about it. So my goal of my project is to create a website that teachers can use, that I can introduce them to the Google tools, that I can show them some of the things that I use as well, and then use that as a sounding board and as a place where they can go and get further development, further professional development, and or once I become Google certified, create it as a link to actually do the development myself with them. So this is my website that I've created, and it is a work in progress as I find more things and develop my own type of professional development, which is what I would eventually like to add on there, either through YouTube videos or through presentations, but all using the Google suite of tools. So my first page is an introduction to myself and why I started this whole thing, and my feel for other world language teachers, that how can I integrate this with their classrooms. Picture of myself and my own contact. So the first thing that I have on my tabs is a presentation that I had done at a workshop that integrating Google tools in the world language classrooms to French, Spanish, Italian teachers. It was a group of teachers that I teach a college level course, and every year we get together to share ideas. And what I did was create this professional development tool that I shared with them and went through it. I'm not about to go through the entire presentation, but in it I go through how Google can affect the classroom, how they can use Google Docs, forms, plus add-ons and extensions. And at the same time, what I did was, when I gave that presentation, I created a back channel discussion where I invited some of the members of the audience to take notes, and this would have been where people wrote things down. So all these dots are what other people wrote down. So it was nice to see their comments, and I was able to clarify some things. Google Docs says right now, if you note right here, oops, I take that back. They said, at this point, you can't transform a Word document into a Google Doc. And I had to share with them how they could do that. And after this workshop, I created a form that they were able to fill out and ask additional questions, and I addressed those questions. And one of them was how you actually can change a Google Doc, a Word document into a Google Doc by changing the settings for your uploads. So that was good. They appreciated that because they see how the benefits of using the Google Docs, and a lot of these teachers have just eons and eons of materials that they would like to transform and just didn't know how to do that. So I split this up into tools that each one of the teachers can use for different areas. And of course, when we talk about using tools for foreign languages, we want to be able to touch upon the 4 C's. The 5 C's of language learning, which is communities, cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. And we have within each, of course, we have 4 strands, which is reading, writing, listening, and speaking. what I did was for the reading, I gave them an introduction to one of the extensions that I found on the Chrome Web Store called Lingually, and showed them or explained to them how they could use the Lingually in their classroom by creating their own Google Docs, sharing that with their students, who then upload into their Lingually accounts. And that way it totally differentiates their reading. Students are able to practice the words at their own pace. They can find reading materials that are in the target language and read things that interest them. So the whole thing is to engage the learner. So I showed a couple of screenshots here of what it would look like, and with a word list, showing them how that would work, and then how my words that I uploaded show up in the articles themselves. And I hope I'm not making you dizzy by flying back up there. The next thing I did was tools for speaking, because one of the hardest things when you have a class of 25 or you have a class of 30, even when you have a class of 15, it's very difficult to do good speaking tests that you're able to assess. So there were two things that I brought up here. One is Voicethread, which is now in the Chrome Web Store, and the other one, and giving them how they could use Voicethread, and the other one was Google Voice, explaining how they can assess their students' speaking by creating a Google Voice number, giving that to their students, changing the greeting that they have to whatever task it is. I didn't go into a lot of detail about how they can create different groups for each one of their classes, but this is certainly just an introduction to being able to use Google Voice for that. And I included some information about Google Voice and how to actually change it here. This particular item, Google Voice, addresses these particular strands for both the students and the national standards as far as language learning. So tools for writing and collaboration, of course, have to go with Google Docs. And I discuss how Google Docs can really transform your classroom and the different ways that they can use it. Spreadsheets, drawings, and I go into a little bit of detail of what it is, and then some information about the Google Docs itself, how it works just like Word, and why using Google Docs, some information on how to do it. And then tools for you. Some tools that teachers can use in their classroom that are on point with language learning. How to use Google Earth in the World Language Classroom. So they can watch this video for additional ideas of things that are Google that they can use. And then I created Google tools that I use in my classroom to give them an idea of some of the things that I do. The first thing would be my Google Calendar, where I put down all of my dates for tests and quizzes. I put on vacation dates and reminders. I show them how, I didn't show them, I tell them how they can actually upload a document into it and attach it so that students can have, maybe you want to have a review sheet. So on that, they can just click on that review sheet right there. And for some reason, my dates aren't showing up, and that has to do still with the sharing settings that they have done at my school, so it doesn't come in. Another thing that I talked about was Digo, which is a collaboration tool. Again, you can find it in the Chrome Web Store, and how it can be used to collaborate with their own colleagues and find more information from around the world to use in their language classrooms, and a quick video on that as well. And then I did a intro to Google Forms and how they can use Google Forms to use formative and summative assessments, and spoke a little bit about how you can use it to self-grade. I didn't go into a lot of detail yet on using Doctopus or the Gubrick, as this is still very a basic point in my creation, so to speak. the last thing that I did was where to go to learn more. And as I'm going through and creating this site, it actually may be an amendment to the bottom of every single page, like for Google Docs, at the bottom of it, where to go for more for Google Docs and so forth. At this point, it's its own page. I just haven't quite figured out how I really want it set it out. So I have a introduction here for Google Drive and where it all happens. And if you would go to this site, and if I will click on this real quick, where Google Drive for educators, you can actually register for a class. Are you all able to see this? You can register for a class and go at your own pace to learn different things. And this was actually developed by a Google certified teacher. And further down, cool ways to use Google Docs. And this is directly related to the World Language Teacher for interpretive quizzes, where you're able to insert a video into the form and ask questions about it. So now students are listening and viewing the target language and responding to the questions also in the target language, but using a Google form. So my whole plan for this, in the end, is to really try and touch on the niche of world language teachers and have a site where they can go to find out more information and develop new ways of using the Google items, Google suite of tools in their classrooms. And hopefully at that point, once I do become certified, I will be able to use that as a stepping stone to do training, not only in the world language classroom, because that is my love, but going into a school to discuss and do some professional development about the Google tools.
Really, really great. Does that conclude your presentation, Heidi?
Yes, that would
really
be it.
Great job. You could stop your screen share. So we have some comments there for you, but you know, just before we get to those, I love the idea. I love even just the name of the site. I love how much thought you put into really quality resources. You know, I kept trying to click on some of those resources in there. It was a great screen share. So I'll surely go back and review some of the ones I haven't seen already. You see, you put a lot of time into, a lot of work into it, and I think it's going to be a valuable professional development tool moving forward. I thought even, you know, a Google Plus community, a Google Groups,
Yes.
like so many things you could add to that
Right.
moving forward.
Right.
As you said, once you become certified and once you really get this moving.
Right. Well, as part of the workshop that I had done, I created a Digo group just for the members of the workshop where we're able to share, and I also asked in the form that I had sent out if they would be interested in doing a hangout where we would be able to share ideas and ask questions. So that certainly would be a part of it, you know, where it could be a once a week type of hangout to learn more about Google tools or frustrations or anything to that effect.
And you post those hangouts in a Google Plus community
Right.
that's created for this specific purpose.
Correct.
Yeah, really great job. So you have a couple of comments there, Don. You want to say anything before the comments, or?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in awe. I loved the fact that you I really enjoyed the independent practice and differential instruction you could do through Lingly. I thought that was awesome, and I mean, the Google Voice. You know, you've seen a lot of low teachers use that, and I think it's just a very
Right.
powerful tool to kind of have that feedback. I mean, everyone knows how to leave a voicemail or a voice message and respond back, and that allows you to evaluate them very easily without having to worry about them having a microphone and then how do they send it to you. It's just a very, very easy way to do that.
What I found great about using the Google Voice is that you can actually download those conversations, those messages, and use it in a portfolio to show student progress in either their pronunciation or their ability to respond, you know, quickly to those regards. And the fact that you can just use your computer screen, you don't have to call a voice number and hold on to your phone. You can do it right there. Unfortunately, I don't think that Google Voice transcribes into Spanish yet, and hopefully they will be able to do that too, because it would be nice to have that as well.
Yeah, that transcription would be interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah. I wonder, I don't know what Google's plans are for the future, but it looks like they're consolidating more and more of their products. I know Google Voice is going to become part of Hangouts. And I know Hangouts is getting some parts of Google Translate. So I think that marriage may happen sooner rather than later.
Right.
But I think that would be a nice feature as well. So I thought it was great. Do we have any other feedback from Michelle, Rachel, or Stephen?
I think we have a couple comments there. If we can quickly move through those, yeah?
I'm sorry, Rachel, that you weren't able to see my screen. I can post the link if you'd like, so you can see that. And is there a place to post links in our...
You can post it right here in the chat. Right?
Okay.
I think that may be a connectivity thing, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably my connection.
Yeah.
But when I was listening to your presentation, I really liked when you were talking about listening and speaking and writing. When you were describing it, I just felt like it really aligned to Common Core standards as well.
Absolutely,
A huge part of the rollout. So I think it's just great that you're integrating not only technology but also Common Core as well, because so many people have trouble doing one or the other, and here you are doing both. So I just wanted to commend you on that.
Thank you. My goal also, as I had mentioned in my my introduction to you guys with my Google Doc, was that eventually each one of these pages or each one of these tools will be aligned to both the ISTE standards, the Common Core standards, as well as the national standards for language learning. So that I have that on. I was able to do that on one, but I was going a little crazy for the rest of them. So slowly but surely.
And Michelle, you had a quick comment as well?
Yes, I really enjoyed the fact that you used the forms to have students assess themselves, but then actually the fact that you could import a video into it, that I didn't know you could do that, and that's so great that you can now assess their listening, their reading, because now you're asking them questions, and their writing skills there. So that's 3 out of the 4, and then with Google Voice, you just hit all 4 components.
Right in that one form where they're listening, they're interpreting, you can ask an opinion, you can do all of that and get so much out of just that one form. It would be awesome if Google would allow you to do a voice record on a form. So, but I found that is something that you can do with Voicethread, where you can leave comments and ask questions, either video. So that Voicethread I love to use, especially for digital storytelling, which is just so powerful for language learning.
Right.
All right, great. Any other comments, questions?
Stephen, did you have any comments or questions?
No, I have to say that I was very impressed. Like I said, I've used forms extensively. I've played around with it, and you showed a great example of how it is used, how versatile it is.
And as a social studies teacher, Stephen, certainly you can upload one of those history YouTube videos and ask questions about the video as well. So I think I could see how you would use it too. And my son is becoming a history teacher, so plan on telling him about it as well.
All right, great. All right, so thank you so much, Heidi. That was excellent. Now we have up next, we have Rachel. So without further ado, you're up.
Okay. Hello, I'm Rachel Kelsh. I'm a social studies teacher at Hampton Bays High School. And a common problem in our school is that a lot of teachers don't have the time to collaborate and plan interdisciplinary units and research with each other. So a good tool to use that I found out about because of our Google class is Google Calendar and Google Drive. So I wanted to do a project on using Google Calendar and Google Drive to foster collaborative relationships. So the whole aim of this project, we want to go on to the next slide of the presentation. Thank you. Is to use the calendar application to foster collaborative planning, so that each each teacher would have their lesson plans up on Google Calendar. As you know, with Google Calendar, you can attach documents. So each teacher would have their calendar up, attach the documents, and then they would share these calendars within their own discipline and then within grade levels. So, for example, I teach American history. I would share it with the other American history teachers. In addition, I would share it with the English 11 teacher, the math teacher, the LOT teacher. So we'd all be able to view each other's calendars. Then we would take the time to look at each other's calendar and see if there's any opportunity for cross-collaboration. We would be able to use Google Drive, a document created in Google Drive, as a collaboration document to come together and chat about what type of lessons that we could create. For example, this past year, the English teacher wanted to collaborate on a lesson that I was doing on the Great Awakening, and they were reading The Crucible. So I really wish I would have had this tool at that time that we could have done it. So if you go on to the third page, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Third page. Is it working for you? So again, the target audience for this would be people within a school community. So teachers of the same subject area, teachers within the same grade level, and then eventually we would move to within the school, within the district, and it could eventually go district-wide or Long Island-wide, statewide. So you get that collaboration between colleagues from all different levels and from all different areas. Another positive to this would be if you collaborate with more people, you get more feedback on your lessons and their lessons. So I thought that was a really great feature. If we go on to the next slide, there's plenty of opportunities for professional development. So the first one is within building. So if we go on to the next slide that specializes within building, within your own building, you'd be able to share your calendar with the other teachers in your content area and other teachers that are sharing the same students. Another great feature about this would be teachers within certain areas or certain grade levels teach the same students, so they would know what would work best for them. Also, this could eventually go on to district level, which is the next slide. Okay, so district level, you could share calendars in order to help that transition. I know in our district we have trouble moving people from 8th grade to 9th grade, getting curriculum aligned and making sure they have the right skill set coming in. So this is something that would actually ease that transition for the students and make the teachers more aware in the later grades of what teachers are teaching in the lower grades and get actual lesson plans, aims, and objectives for what those teachers are doing. And then if we move to the next slide, we talk about multiple districts. So again, we were mentioning earlier Common Core initiatives. There's a lot of teachers that have to reinvent the way that they're teaching. So if teachers shared their calendar, they would be able to share lessons that were successful for them, that worked for them, and then get feedback from others. So I want to show you an example of this. If we go on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, the standards address. So again, this hits on EST standards with collaboration, with working with parents as well. You can share that with, you could share calendars with parents as well in case students were absent for that day. If we go on to the next slide, it is share links. So I don't think you guys can collaborate in it. So I'm going to actually share the link for the Google Calendar in the side chat bar. Let me pull it up for you. Let's see if it's working. Okay. So if you take a look, here we go. If you click on that link, you should be brought to a Google Calendar.
Should I click on the calendar link, Rachel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, so if we could go to September 20th. So if you go back on the top toolbar, right there. Yep. So if we go to September, so you see all the lessons for American history are outlined on here. If you click on September 20th, which is Great Awakening, and you can go to more details. Okay. So hopefully the I'm using again this Crucible and Great Awakening example. So what you can do is you can click on the calendar link, and it'll bring you to a description page. So they would be able to see my lesson for that, my do now for that, and the English teacher can write on in that description, oh, I'm teaching about the Crucible at this time. I'd love to set up a collaboration page. So in that link, you could see the collaboration page, which if you can click on that for me, Al, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. So it'll bring up this collaboration page. So this collaboration page would have the lesson topic, the subjects participating, dates, a basic outline for you to collaborate with another teacher. So if you scroll down a little bit, it has opportunities for collaboration, the standards address, the lesson description, and the resources that you can use. As we know with Google Drive, with Google Docs, you can comment on with each other and have a chat on the side to really talk about and hash out what your lesson would be. So again, this would be great for district-wide, for school-wide, or within multiple districts to collaborate on different assignments. And if you want to look at a blank document of this, let me share it on here. Oops, sorry. Collaboration document, share. Working. See?
And they can see it on the screen now, Rachel, too.
Okay, they can. Okay, thank you. So that's the blank document. So again, this would be a blank document that everyone would have access to, and then people would be able to make copies based on which lessons they'd like to collaborate on. And that's basically Google Calendars and collaboration.
Okay, great.
Wow.
Let me stop that.
Nice job.
Screen share?
Yep. I have a couple questions just before jumping. I think this is fantastic. I love that it's not only a curriculum map in a way, but it's also I guess it's just a super curriculum map. It has all the disciplines in there, and you can kind of try to line things up or at least see where other teachers are at. It's really great that you have that ability. How's the buy-in with this been so far?
I think it's been pretty good. I mean, for example, it worked really well with me. My partner, my colleague that I co-teach American history with, basically, we co-plan. She was out on maternity leave the first 6 weeks of school. Okay. So I shared my entire calendar with the leave replacement. So the leave replacement was able to access the lessons, and then the teacher that was out on maternity leave was able to see what we were doing. So when she came back to school, she was completely up to speed.
That leave replacement must have loved you.
She awesome. Still has access to it, so I think she's very happy.
That's awesome.
Rachel, this is one of the more unique uses of Google Apps that I've seen, and we've been doing this for a while. And I think even if we showed this to Google, this is one of them. I think they'll love all of your projects, but I think this is one of the more innovative uses of Google that may even encourage them to do a little bit more with it too.
That would be great. It would be great because it's almost like a plan book. You can attach the lessons, and then what you can also do, you can install. Obviously, I'm sure everyone knows that you can install Google Drive right into your desktop. So instead of saving everything into my USB, I save it directly into Google Drive. Every time I create, even if you create it on Word, even if you create a smart notebook, you can always save it back to that Google Drive folder. And then it's just so streamlined and so easy to attach it to that calendar.
And then every department gets their own kind of color on your calendar, and you can
basically.
That's awesome.
So I have a calendar for American History Global, and then you could also do student calendars as well, which I'm starting to play around with, and adding assignments for students on there in case they miss an assignment. Instead of a while you were out bin, they would just go to the calendar and be able to access it. So again, it's more accountability for the students. It is a lot of work on your part, but again, it does help you be more organized and be more efficient in the long run.
Rachel, that's one question I have. Once you have it set up, it seems like it's a pretty simple process once it's set up initially.
Yes, it definitely is. It's just you kind of have to discipline yourself every day to save in case. I like to save a student copy of the notes that they did on the smartboard as well. So just getting, at the end of the day, it gets a little crazy, and sometimes you forget to do stuff, but really disciplining yourself and making sure you save all that really pays off in the long run. And then next year when you want to use the stuff, if you want to use a similar lesson, all you have to do is change the date on the Google Calendar.
Right.
That's great.
So.
And you can also drop and drag different lessons and stuff. You know, oh, I want to move this lesson. I want to teach this here or there. I mean, social studies is pretty chronological, but like if you're a different subject area, I'm sure you have that flexibility to move things around. It's great.
Yeah, if you have like a snow day, you can just bump everything up one.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of online plan books. I know, Don, we've talked about this when you've come to Hampton Bays, but they charge a lot of money. It's $30 a year, $40 a year for the service. Google is offering it for free, and it's linked to Drive. It's definitely an improvement based on those other plan books.
Great. All right, a couple other comments. Stephen and Heidi have a couple comments.
Go ahead, Steve.
All right. It's actually the more I've read about the Google Calendars and what you can do with them, with the collaboration, simply for what you produce and linking them onto your calendar and linking them to other teachers, fantastic. What I've seen is several. I mean, I've already seen that a couple districts they've already done this, where, for instance, I believe it's Massapequa, the English and Social Studies department will collaborate together on the assignments. So, for instance, if you're studying England, medieval England, in social studies, in England, or rather in English, they'll be looking at Beowulf to kind of link it all up together. And I find this would actually be taking it to the next step. But the other point I was looking at was a lot more districts are moving toward having everything uniform. All the teachers teach everything on the same day.
That's what I just said.
Material is all covered. Any student can go to any teacher, say if they miss a material or miss a class, and get extra help. I've already seen this in a few that I've worked in. Having this available, though, having the calendar available, not only can the teachers share and the students share, but you give access to the parents so they can actually see how they're progressing, what they're going to be expecting.
Great.
I completely agree. Our principal in our district has really emphasized that he wants what you just talked about, the conformity. So that American history teacher and I, we teach the same stuff on the same day, and we really have to collaborate a lot. And the problem is we only have one prep period off together. So it makes it difficult to have that collaboration. But if we're both working on Google Drive, we can work on it during our prep periods and leave notes for each other and chat back and forth. So it really helps out with all of that.
Yeah, great. And Heidi, you had a comment? I saw Michelle, you had a comment too, so sorry I didn't see yours there.
I'm just in awe of what you've just done here. I would never have thought of trying to use calendar and a document to create lesson plans or anything like that that gets shared across. I mean, we have in my district we do have a curriculum mapping program, but I can't see anybody else's map. I only have access to my maps. I can't even see the maps of my other Spanish teachers unless we teach the same thing. And even so, at this point, I have to say that our maps, they're not similar. Like I've got a 2H and a 3. Yeah, they're not similar at all. And everybody's pretty much doing their own thing. So this is just fabulous. Not only that, but it breaks the work in half.
Oh my goodness, completely.
Or thirds, depending on how many people you're working on it, where everybody does something on it. It's fabulous.
And I feel like what you were just saying about the curriculum mapping as well, we have something similar, but no one uses it because it's so difficult to manage and maneuver around. And when you pull it up, it's very difficult to read.
Yeah.
The great thing about Google is everything is very streamlined, very simple, and you could really curate basically what you want to have in your curriculum map and what type of documents you'd like to include and what type of planning. So it gives you that freedom and doesn't kind of lock you in that box.
Too bad you can't.
Because I think, I'm sorry.
Too bad you can't copyright this idea.
maybe Google will throw something her way.
Yes.
Well, we have recorded proof of it right now. So.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
You'll just take a couple stock shares, right?
Yeah. The one would be fine. I live happily on one.
How is this going as far as school-wide? I mean, are you getting buy-in from your other teachers, from your other departments?
So I've just started using it this year with the other American history teacher. She's actually taking the technology course that Don and I'll run through Stony Brook. So she's going to whet her appetite. She's really into it. She just wants the formal education in it. But she's really great. And I also share it with the special education teacher. We have, instead of integrated co-teaching, we have support here at Hampton Bays. So I share it with her so she can get the resources for the special ed student.
Fantastic.
And I do it for global as well. So I mentioned it to my principal a little bit. Michelle and I actually did a professional development yesterday about some of the tools that we use, but he didn't want to overwhelm the staff at that point. So I think this is something, once I polish it up even more and get more people to use it, I feel like it's definitely something I could bring to him. Or our assistant superintendent is very into technology, so it's definitely a conversation that I'd like to have with her in the near future.
Great. All right, and Michelle, you have a quick comment there too?
I was just saying that it's a really great way to encourage that communication between buildings. I know that it's often difficult for the middle school and the high school teachers to come together and have those department meetings and really figure out where we are in the course, and this is just such an easy way to immediate feedback. Show them your lesson, show them your curriculum map, and make sure everybody's on the same point. So very
easily accessible, easy to add to, easy to edit, easy to create. All that makes for a system that people would use on a daily basis. Yeah, so great job. All right, any other questions or comments for Rachel?
I mean, I would just like to
great.
I would just like to see at the end of the year how things worked out.
Yeah.
So we definitely would like to follow up with that.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, all right. So next up is Michelle.
So using Google Sites and Drive as a digital locker for Google Voice. The target audience as far as instruction would be the students in 7th through 12th grade. Me personally, I've been working with the 9th grade students in getting them set up with the Google Drive folder and starting this Google Voice. But I think it's important that the students start in 7th grade making these Google Voice accounts so that we have a baseline for their speaking and their fluency when they start the program, and then we can have a digital locker and really at the end of their high school career see how much they have grown, or even within just that year see how much they have grown. My target audience as far as profession, it would be the foreign language faculty from the middle school and the high school. So my objective really is, like I was saying, foreign language in the classroom. Speaking is really one of the most important elements, but it is very difficult to assess. Oftentimes you have to take an entire period, maybe even get a substitute in the room so that you can pull each student out one by one, sit with them, and really give them a sufficient amount of time to complete this one speaking task. So upon entering 7th grade, I would like students to start using Google Voice to do these speaking assessments, hopefully at least one per unit, to really get an idea of their progression throughout each year. And now incorporating Google Drive into this, they'll create these portfolios where we can download the Google Voice into MP3s and put them into their folders. Now, not only do I have access to their folder and can hear their progression, but since the students are sharing their own folders with me, they can hear their progression throughout the year as well. I can then share this folder with their teacher for the next year, and now they kind of have a basis and a baseline of where the student is starting off in their speaking skills. And short term, this is just a great way to incorporate this every, like I said, in the unit to know as a speaking assessment. Professional development, it would be ideal that I would sit with my foreign language department, like I said, in the middle school and the high school, so that we can really incorporate this right from the beginning. and showing the faculty how to use the sites, how to use voice, and how to really incorporate all of these elements together. So the standards, like I said, would be to facilitate and inspire students' learning and creativity, as well as design and develop digital age learning experiences. So my procedure, I hope these links pop up. The first step would be to create a Google site. So I just set a link here to my Google site, just so you can see how I've set this up. I teach Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, and within my website, I have a link to my Google Drive as well, so students can get their folders right from here. The second step would be to create a Google Voice account. And how we were talking before about, you'll see right now, these are the voicemails that I've gotten so far. And no, they do not get transcribed from Spanish to English. So you can see here some of these comments look very interesting. It does not make any sense whatsoever. But when you play them, it's a great way to assess them. Now, and also I've embedded this Google Voice into my site, so now my students can have easy access to Google Voice. You can create a little widget right here. Students can call right from their computers, or right underneath I've left the phone number so they can call from their cell phone, house phone, or wherever they need to. And now I've also incorporated, a YouTube video, so now they're using their listening skills, and they must answer specific questions on the videos. So now we're using their listenings, speaking, and reading. A great way to incorporate multiple skills. And then the students would create their own folders and then share them with me. And I've linked you to that as well and show you what that looks like in my Google Drive. So this is my one Spanish 7th period class, and these are all the folders that I have with those students. And within each folder, I've uploaded this MP3 right into their folder. So they've done one assignment so far, and hopefully throughout the year, we'll have a nice digital locker or portfolio of all of their speaking tasks. So the student would leave a message on the Google Voice. Like I said, I would download this into an MP3 and upload it right into each student's individual folder. And if you want to see, very simple. Now here is a specific message. Once you just click on more down here, download, and it turns right into an MP3. So you can just drag that right into their folder or upload that right into their folder, and you have created now a portfolio for them. And that is how to create a digital portfolio using Google Voice.
Great, great. All right, Michelle, you could stop sharing your screen if you'd like.
Oh.
Click that one more time. Another very innovative use of Heidi, you mentioned doing some stuff with voice as well, and this is really, taking it, I think, to the next level. You're having them use Google Voice to record themselves. The accountability is up there, right? Because it has to be them. It's their voice answering the questions. You really can't. I've made a comment. You really can't copy, from someone. It's them for sure. And then you're taking it to the next level, and then putting it in, the portfolio piece. I think it's really wonderful too. This turned out to be a really neat project. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. What I really liked is I like that the students are able to once they download it as MP3, once they put it in their portfolio, they can actually listen to their own voice. They can listen to them speaking Spanish, and see, where they've stumbled and maybe their inflection and their accent, and they can kind of listen to it. I mean, nobody obviously likes the sound of their own voice, but by hearing it, you can kind of see and improve on it, just like you would when if you're learning English and you're see a speech teacher. Same type of thing when you're learning a foreign language.
And we have a couple comments from Stephen and Heidi.
All right. Like I said, I was very. All right. I was actually very impressed for the simple point that you can literally have what they speak show up. You have the transcript. You have everything there, and for any teacher to show progress, or even to show for a portfolio, you have it available. And if you keep doing it over time, you just have it there. You can show parents, you show students themselves. They can see how they're progressing. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Heidi?
Yeah. I had a question about what kind of access they have to your drive. You said that on your website you have a link to your drive. So what access do they have to your drive?
Michelle, you're muted.
You're muted, Michelle.
Sorry. They only have access to the folder that they've shared with me.
Okay.
So it's their specific folder, their own folder. They can't see any other students' folders or anything. So.
And you do that through share rights, Michelle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So okay. All right. So thank you so much, Michelle. That was great. Any other questions or comments from Michelle?
My wheels are just spinning with all the ideas that I'm thinking of now with what you just brought up. The types of questions you can ask, and when we talk about Common Core, it even goes to them becoming, going into argumentative speaking, or it's just amazing.
And that's one of the great things about this. We've said it a number of times, that the share piece and learning from each other. Don and I love that aspect of it because we're always learning from you. You guys are learning from each other, and that's it's kind of a secondary benefit, but it could be said that it's a primary benefit of some of these courses as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to hear too, Heidi. All right. So last but not least, we have Stephen up.
My name is Steve Quinn. I'm a social studies teacher by background. Taught several classes and through different districts, and I've seen various aspects of social studies and how it's been integrated. But one thing I've kind of come across is pretty actually a common problem that I'm sure every teacher has experienced, is something with having students keep up with work if they're absent, if they're out of the class, be it for something in school or if they're out of school, if they're at home on a trip or so forth. So something I look into was incorporating Google Forms in education, essentially creating digital lessons for students to follow along, complete the work while they're not around. So, for instance, to begin with, as we're all familiar with Google Forms, part of the Google Suite, it's very useful for creating surveys, questions that you wish for people to answer. And the results will always show up in that Google spreadsheet. Essentially, we all know we input it in, the data and so forth, you have the response sheet show up, and it will show what the reports are. The beauty of it, however, is it can be, like I said, it can be used in the classrooms for assigning different question formats for a variety of topics. There's also other widgets and scripts that exist, for instance, Flubberoo, which was used as part of this project. And you can set it up to essentially answer the questions that you have assigned. So for this, what I did was I integrated it into a website for social studies, just a basic lesson on citizenship, something that is covered in 12th grade government, but it's also covered for those trying for U.S. citizenship, something that people experience anytime they're coming to the country. They need something to be familiar with, to study with. So, like I said, this could be used for fellow teachers if they follow along how to integrate it in and put it together, as well as adult education instructors. Like I said, if they have a website, they can essentially something like this, or if they do it on their own, like I said, you build this and you have the form set up and give you automatic feedback. So to go into it right here, we have our link right here. It goes into the site and so forth. The basic premise of this is it follows the links through it, and is given questions to essentially describe. Everything will essentially be feedback. This is one thing right here. This is an open-ended for people to essentially go through and answer. This will be available to you, anyone who has this link possible. Like I said, this is something I would be using in my. This is something that would be used in my own class. Similar question open up above, being what does being a citizen mean to you? Normally, I would just have students write this, but like I said, if I want students to keep up with it, they would have access to this website, answer it, and I would have access to it, and as well as any student. This is open up to pretty much anybody who has permission. Anyone has permission, they go through, edit, they add the response, and so forth. So from there, for each part right here, what they would be doing would be submitting it. They have various questions. For instance, they would have framework. They fill in, make sure, obviously we have to make sure things are required. Things are submitted on here, and then the beauty of it is it transcribes right to my page. I can see what time they enter it in, what are the rights and so forth, duties, responsibilities. Obviously, if it's your own class, however you want to set it up, you're free to choose. You choose to do so. But the beauty of it is comes with when you're creating a discussion or an assessment. So with this right here, suppose you want to actually create discussion. You want people to take part in this. Like I said, if you have 1 or 2 students out, this part might not work fully for the group. But if you're doing, say, virtual learning, if you're doing citizenship training, you have it set up in a way that students enter in their information right here, and in about a minute or so, or reload, your comment would show here, and people will be able to see their responses that they wrote, or they're able to see comments that other people have made. Like I said, it's the beauty of it. You're encouraging collaboration and encouraging discussion between your students. Part of this thing that's also great is you're encouraging an assessment. Beauty of the Google Forms on the site is you're allowed to create these tests, and the test can be created using Heberer. It's a script that goes in, you access it, you install it, and you essentially allow data to be read. It's like once you put in through your questions and so forth, you have your assessment right here. You have your details set up. Heberer installs itself, and it will show you, as long as you have 2 entries for the grading, one for what we consider your test line. The other one would be just for a practice, however a person did. To make life easy, to make sure students can't see it, you have your student. You can hide your student submissions. All people that submit it, you'll have your list of who they are and what they have. Their details will be saved right here. You will be able to see what responses they made, and through the grade part, you'll be able to see, as long as you uncover it all, you can see what answers that they made. And the beauty of this, like I said, it transfers right to your own account, so then you can take this thing and upgrade any grades that you need to for them. And that's essentially the beauty of using Google Forms to incorporate into any lesson. Like I said, you throw it in, you incorporate it, you essentially have a digital lesson that you can either have students do in the classroom if you wish, or when they're outside the classroom, you need them to catch up to it. All right. And that's essentially concludes what I have to demonstrate for incorporating the Google Forms into the social aids lesson.
Okay, great, Stephen. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Heberer is a really great tool for that assessment piece, as you explained, and a lot of teachers are afraid to use it, but it really is pretty straightforward, and you did a nice job of explaining how it can be used. Not just in social studies, but really in any discipline. There's some of those kind of hidden tools in Google that people shy away from, but that one in particular is pretty easy to pick up. So, excellent job.
Yeah, the ability to have kind of a self-grading form is fantastic, and like Al said, I think it's underutilized. I think people get scared by the funny name maybe a little bit, Heberer, and then as soon as you say the word script, their eyes kind of glaze over, but it's really not that difficult. So I think you did a good job explaining that. One thing I wanted to mention, I like that that your lesson is not only relevant to K-12, It's not only relevant to something that teachers could use in their classroom, but it's also something that could apply to people, for adult education seeking citizenship as well. I think sometimes we forget that there's more to being a citizen than just kind of getting born here and just living off the land. Some people, they're trying to get citizenship here, or they want to be active in the, be an upright citizen and contribute to the society. So I think that's an important part of the citizenship too, and I like that you explored that.
Absolutely, yep.
So we have a couple of comments here, Heidi.
Well, when you started talking about the citizenship, I immediately started thinking about my Boy Scouts and, their merit badges that they have to do, and that this would be something that they could even look at and use, not necessarily take the test or anything, but a good place for them to start learning some more things. I really think it's great that you're able to address those students that are absent. Oftentimes a kid may be sick, they may be suspended, they may be out because of an operation, or they have an injury of some sort, and they get really, really stressed out because of the fact that they're missing so much school. Not to mention that if this is doable, districts can save a ton of money on the tutoring costs that often occurs with absenteeism like this. So, it's a way of addressing it. And when a student is out for a long period of time, to coordinate with that tutor is often difficult. And this is a great way of sharing it, and you're making sure that the student is learning what you really need them to learn, not some curriculum being made up by a tutor. So this is awesome. Good job.
Great.
And thank you for I have not used Flubaroo yet, if that's how you say it, because I am one of those people who like, oh my God, how am I going to do a script?
Yes.
Kind of thing. But I think you've got me into jumping in.
It's out of scripts to play around with, it's probably the most easiest to essentially install. It's really just a couple clicks. And then once you have it, once you sign it to your form, it's self-explanatory. It takes care of itself. You just could check it. You could just check it literally once a week, and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, it's like a wizard. It takes you through each
Right.
step.
Right.
That's great.
There's very little coding involved with it, so.
Yeah. All right. So, any other questions or comments? All right, great. So, thank you so much, guys. This is it's been a pleasure, working with all of you. You guys are all great, and these projects that you've created this course. It's been great listening to what you've done with these projects, and where they go from here is going to be interesting to see as well. Thanks so much for making it through the first course in the cohort, and we look forward to having you guys continue on and become Google certified trainers. So with that, have a great holiday and enjoy, and congratulations.